All right, let's dive into the story of a real giant in Indonesia's automotive scene, PT Mitra Panastika Musuka, or as you probably know it, MPMX. Now, this isn't just a corporate history lesson. It's really a story about high-stakes strategy, incredible resilience, and a massive transformation over a decade of pretty intense change. So, to kick things off, let's just throw a number out there that really sets the stage. Get this, 15.8 trillion rupiah. That's the revenue MPMX pulled in for 2024. I mean, that's a massive figure, and it tells you everything you need to know about the sheer scale of their operations and just how deeply woven they are into the fabric of the Indonesian economy. So, the big question is, how did they get to that point? Well, we're going to track their journey through 6 key chapters. We'll start with who they are, an Indonesian powerhouse. Then we'll look at how they built a modern machine through strategic deals. We'll see how they thrived through some serious turbulence, embraced the digital age, and used governance as their foundation. And finally, we'll peek at what it looks like driving into the future. Let's get into it. All right, first up, an Indonesian powerhouse. So, who exactly is MPMX? Well, at its core, the company is this absolutely vital link in the whole automotive chain. You probably know them best as a key distributor for Honda motorcycles, especially in some of Indonesia's most packed regions. But, and this is important, there's so much more than that. They've got their hands in vehicle rentals, financing, and even insurance. And yeah, this is no overnight success story. We're talking about a company that was founded way back in 1987. That kind of long history means they've had time to build some seriously deep roots and an incredible network. It's really made them a true cornerstone of the country's entire consumer landscape. Okay, on to section 2, building a modern machine. You don't get to that kind of scale by just sitting around. For MPMX, the last decade has been, honestly, a masterclass in managing their portfolio. It's all about knowing what to buy, when to build, and maybe most importantly, when it's time to sell. And you can see that strategy playing out right here. Back in 2012, they made a massive move, snapping up vehicle rental and financing companies to really build out their ecosystem. Just a year later, boom, they go public with an IPO. Then, fast forward to 2018, and you see this major pivot. They sell off their entire lubricant business to a global giant, ExxonMobil. These weren't random moves. They were super calculated decisions to really double down on the company's core strengths. And what was the result of all that hard work? Well, by 2023, the business was incredibly focused. I mean, look at this. A massive 98% of their revenue came from that core distribution, retail, and aftermarket segment. That kind of laser focus doesn't happen by accident. It's a direct result of making those tough decisions about what to buy and what to sell. Moving on to our third section, thriving through turbulence. A good strategy isn't just about the moves you plan to make. It's about how you react when things you can't control happen. And like pretty much every company on the planet, MPMX faced its share of shocks, but none bigger than the global pandemic that just turned everything upside down in 2020. And boy, the impact was immediate and it was brutal. Their net revenue just plummeted from almost 17 trillion rupiah in 2019 all the way down to just over 11 trillion in 2020. Think about it. When an entire economy goes into lockdown, a business that's built on people moving around is going to get hit hard and fast. So the real question is, what do you do next? And this is the crucial part. They didn't just sit back and wait for the storm to pass. No way. They responded with a really clear plan. They rolled out cost leadership initiatives to get a handle on expenses. They doubled down on making their operations as excellent as possible. And they hit the accelerator hard on their company-wide digitalization program. This was never just about survival. It was about setting themselves up to emerge even stronger on the other side. And that response, that push for digitalization, leads us perfectly into our next section, embracing the digital age. Because this is about so much more than just fancy new tech. It's really about people. MPMX got that they needed to adapt their whole culture to really connect with a new generation of both employees and customers. I absolutely love this quote from their 2019 annual report. It just spells out the why behind their strategy so perfectly. It says, understanding the fact that a majority of our employees are millennials and born digital, we now facilitate interaction and communication with them through digital. It's so simple, right? They knew their workforce was changing, so the company itself had to change too. We're talking about building a completely modern employee experience from the ground up. So what does that actually look like in the real world? Well, let's take recruitment, for example. They completely overhauled it. They brought in gamified assessments and online, mobile-friendly intelligence tests. And this part's key. They added tests specifically for cultural fit. That's exactly how you go about attracting the top digital native talent that everyone's competing for. And let's be crystal clear about this. This digital push wasn't just some side project for the HR department. Not at all. It was a core business strategy designed to touch every single part of the company. We're talking about everything from making the customer experience better to driving operational efficiency and ultimately sharpening their competitive edge. Right, Section 5, governance as a foundation. Because for any public company, there's this challenge that runs deeper than anything else, earning and keeping the trust of your investors, your employees, and your customers. And that's exactly where strong corporate governance comes into play. It's truly the bedrock of any sustainable business. So, what is good corporate governance, or GCG? To put it simply, it's the rulebook. It's the system of rules and practices for how a company is directed and controlled. It's all about making sure there's transparency, accountability, and fairness for every single stakeholder involved. And NPMX didn't just talk the talk on this one. They actually measured it. They had an independent assessment done. And you can see their GCG score improved significantly in just 1 year, jumping from an 80.34 to an 85.54. I mean, that's tangible proof of their commitment to building a company that's truly based on trust. Okay, that brings us to our final section, driving into the future. So after a whole decade of actively shaping their business, weathering massive economic storms, and really embracing this digital-first mindset, what does the road ahead actually look like for MPMX? So let's just quickly recap the key takeaways here. We've seen a company that is proactive, not afraid to make bold moves with its portfolio. We've seen proven resilience and agility that let them weather a massive storm. There's a deep commitment to digital transformation for both their people and their processes. And it's all built on a strong foundation of governance and trust. When you boil it all down, it's a story of constant, relentless adaptation. And all of that leads us to the final big question. The Indonesian market is, without a doubt, one of the most dynamic and competitive in the world. So after spending a decade building this modern, resilient, digital-first machine, can MPMX not just keep up, but actually continue to lead the way? That's the question.